Today, I want to take a look at some of the reviews that are written about Scottsdale and see what people have to say about it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And give you my opinion after living here for 20 years. Now, if you're looking to move to Scottsdale, you have probably done some of the same thing on places like Reddit or on niche.com because you just want to see what people are saying about living in Scottsdale. And what I can tell you after reading these is that some people are right and some I think might just be a little bit bitter, and Scottsdale is just absolutely not the right place for them. But make sure you stick around to the end because that's where I'm going to tell you what the top 5 complaints were about Scottsdale, as well as what the top 5 things were that people love about Scottsdale. I'm Shawn Shackelton, your resource for all things real estate here in the Scottsdale and Phoenix market. Okay, let's dive into some of the reviews. And yes, I'm going to start with some of the negative ones because I know that's what people want to hear. Arizona is beautiful, but Scottsdale sucks. I was invited to an event in Scottsdale for a weekend, and I truly cannot stop thinking about how awful it is. There is so much hype about this place, but it's just a bunch of strip malls and golf courses with 2010-ish menus. You have to drive everywhere, and apart from a couple of small museums, it is a veritable cultural wasteland. The art is bad, the fashion is bad. There's far more plastic surgery in Scottsdale than I see in LA, New York City, or abroad. And I did not meet a single local person with anything interesting to say. Scottsdale is dull, overpriced, provincial, hot, and extremely wasteful. I find it funny they say all those things about Scottsdale, but yet listen to what they say just about Arizona in general. I love Arizona's landscape, and it is filled with many hidden gems, whether it be food, music, art, history, or the generally down-to-earth people. Okay, so let's get to the things that I agree with in this. Do we have a lot of strip malls? We do. We have strip malls pretty much everywhere. Do I feel like we're overrun with them? Not really. You have to remember, Scottsdale is really, really long. So we've got South Scottsdale, Central Scottsdale, and North Scottsdale. And so a lot of these businesses kind of spread themselves out so that they've got a location in all of those places so that people that live in those areas, they can serve those people. So are there strip malls everywhere? Yes, but they do serve a purpose. Do we have a lot of golf courses? We have a lot of golf courses as well. But if you didn't know that before you came to Scottsdale, then I kind of think somewhere along the lines you missed what Scottsdale's kind of about. Now, do I feel like it's a cultural wasteland? I really don't. We've got some fantastic museums here. We've got the Heard Museum, we have the Musical Instrument Museum, we have the Contemporary Arts Museum. There are a lot of different cultural events and museums for you to go to. But like I said, Scottsdale is just not for everyone. Okay, let's read the next one. I was born in this town in the early 1990s, and it is almost no way the same place that I grew up. It is so much worse now. The unstoppable influx of terrible people has destroyed what used to be a nice, relaxed, working to middle-class town. It is now essentially New Hollywood, with high-rise luxury apartments going up every day. What makes it truly unbearable is the extreme hostility of the people and businesses. Everyone thinks they're better than everyone and hates everyone else. Then you just add on the decades of house flipping and Airbnbs, and the neighborhoods have been destroyed. Northern Scottsdale used to be an enjoyable western desert, but it's been completely overrun with asinine McMansions. The only hope is that the water will run out and force the innumerable jerks to destroy somewhere else. Okay, again, let's start with the things that I agree with. Do I feel like we have a lot of apartment complexes going up? I do. Do I love it? I don't. I wish that we didn't have so many, and I wish that there had not been so many that were approved. That said, they're there, and it's something we're going to have to kind of live with. I don't know what else to say about that one. Is it changing the landscape of what Scottsdale has looked like? It is. My hope is that some of that can slow down. And the positive thing about that is that Scottsdale is very, very aware of the planning and development of the area. So they're doing their absolute best, I feel, in making sure that things that are going up are pretty aesthetically pleasing, even though I feel like we're getting too many of them. So the other thing that I'm going to kind of agree with on this is the house flipping and the Airbnbs. I can tell you that dealing with clients that have looked for Airbnbs, I don't do that a ton, but I do have some clients that look for them every once in a while. And I will tell you that about 2 to 3 years ago, some of those clients of mine have said, you know what, we're going to stop buying in Scottsdale because I feel like it's just becoming oversaturated with Airbnbs, which again, I don't disagree. Just out of curiosity, I'm in some of those Facebook pages just to see what's going on with those Airbnbs and how are they going. And I will tell you that from my perspective, from some of those groups, there's some pretty high vacancy rates at some of those Airbnbs, which is not beneficial for them. And what we see in that is that if they can't fill their vacancies from an Airbnb standpoint, then they turn them over into midterm rentals. And if that doesn't happen, then they'll turn them into long-term rentals that are furnished. So the reality is that when I've got anybody that's looking to move here and maybe rent until they buy, finding them a home to rent that is unfurnished is really, really hard, because some of these Airbnbs that are not being rented as an Airbnb have now been turned into long-term rentals, but they're still furnished. So they can still get more money, not the same amount of money as an Airbnb, but they can still get more money than an unfurnished rental. So we do have a lot of them, and I kind of wish we didn't. The flipping piece that she talked about, that it's kind of a necessary evil, I would say, because some of the homes really do need to be updated. And sometimes the homeowner that's going in there, they don't have the money to necessarily update it the way that they would like to. So sometimes these investors that have gone in to do some of the renovations and flip the homes, I think is a positive for the neighborhood overall. However, sometimes these flips that I see, it's like putting lipstick on a pig. Those, I feel like I wish that they didn't happen, because it almost makes the end user, that new buyer, it almost causes more problems than it's worth in the end. But this is where you've got to lean on a good real estate agent. You've got to lean on a good inspector, possibly a general contractor, to go take a look at those for you, so that you know that what you're buying is not a problem, because some of those flips can be a problem. Now, for the hostile people that this person talks about, I don't see that on a daily basis, not even a weekly or a monthly basis. I do run into people sometimes that are not always the most pleasant, but I kind of chalk that up to they just had a bad day. But it's not something that I run into all the time. So for that, I'm going to disagree. Now, I'm going to bring up this whole water thing that this person finished with, that they hope that we run out of water. And I've said this in the past, really, the water issue that we've had is in one specific area. I know that some people are really concerned about that, but it's in one specific area. That's what all the headlines were about, was this one area that was literally hauled water. And the city of Scottsdale said that they are not going to supply that water anymore. They had plenty of notice. They got cut off. It was a big to-do. All the headlines read that Scottsdale is running out of water. That's not the reality. So I understand the hostility in this review, but the city of Scottsdale is not running out of water. So we are not all going to die of thirst. And it doesn't happen in a day anyway. So if something happened, we could all move. I don't know. This person, that last statement is just really aggressive in my opinion, but I didn't write it. Okay, here's another one. Scottsdale is a safe and affluent area with nice libraries and public parks. However, the area is extremely spread out, very expensive, and most activities cater to wealthy adults. There are not many things for children to do, and the city is constantly cutting and reducing funding for public services, like the city's sports programs for children. Overall, the area itself does not have much to do besides spend money. Most things are closed at around 9 or 10 p.m., even on weekends. Most bars and restaurants are closed at around 12 or 1 a.m. at the latest. Old Town Scottsdale is where most activity is, but is very small and very expensive with little to no variety. There are many well-paying jobs in the area. Okay, well, at least they ended on a positive note. We do have a lot of high-paying jobs here, which is a positive for the people that are living here, because as this person also says, it is expensive to live in Scottsdale. There's no question it. There's no denying it. Scottsdale is on the more expensive side. And the other thing that they mentioned that is also the truth is that it is very spread out. You will have to have a car if you're going to live here, which is something that some people just don't like. They're coming from another big city where they're used to a lot of public transportation, which is something that we just don't have here. So if you're going to live here, you do need a car because things are spread out. Then when we talk about parks and libraries, we have fantastic parks and really, really cool libraries. So again, I agree with this person about that. But where I disagree is that can you go do anything without spending money? You absolutely can. There are parks and libraries you can go to that you don't have to spend money. You can go on a hike in some of our beautiful trails that you don't have to spend money. There are a lot of things that you can do here where you don't have to spend a ton of money. There are splash pads and a lot of things to do for kids. I have 2 kids and I take them out a lot. And guess what? I don't spend a ton of money every time I go out, if I spend money at all. And with regards to things closing at 12 or 1 o'clock, like who wants to be out later than that? I know I don't. I'm not even awake that late. So if it closes at 9, I'm good. But I get it. There are people that want to stay out later than that. But I mean, 12 or 1 o'clock, nothing good happens after that time. So that I don't know what to say about that one, really. Is that really a negative? I'm not sure. And as they talk about Old Town Scottsdale, that is where a lot of the bars are and a lot of the nightlife scene is going to be, but it's also really close to university. So that's where you're also going to get a lot of the young people that go out. So let's read the next one, which really kind of talks about South Scottsdale and that Old Town area, because people have a very distinct feeling about that area specifically sometimes. Now, this review is from 3 different people, all talking about South Scottsdale, kind of building off of one another. So let's read this one and see what they have to say. Love living in South Scottsdale for all the reasons people have mentioned. Worst aspect for me is the Airbnbs for bachelor and bachelorette parties in my neighborhood. Apparently, I'm too conveniently located to Old Town, but I do think it's a great location otherwise, close to everything. Okay, so then the next person responded to the person that just commented. They said, we moved here 27 years ago because of the location, as I would always be working in downtown Phoenix. Raised 4 kids here and loved it. Hardworking people who took pride in their homes, and at the time was a great city. Now, a lot of the homes are short-term rentals, drunken, obnoxious tourists every single weekend. I hate it here. Then the next person commented on that comment. It was an awesome established family community before 2016. I don't blame any of our neighbors for running for the hills, especially the seniors who were treated by venture realtors like they had a foot on death's doorstep. But man, I miss them. Short-term rentals and their guests destroyed the family feel of this area. Okay, so here's what I have to say about this comment about South Scottsdale, because it is a great place to live. And the reason that there are so many short-term rentals down there specifically is because that is one of the areas in Scottsdale, one of the biggest areas in Scottsdale that does not have an HOA. So they have the ability to do those short-term rentals. However, there are a lot. When I have people that look down there, they'll ask me about it all the time. And I tell them, you will likely have a few in your neighborhood. And the best way to find out where the short-term rentals are, come back. When you see neighbors out walking around, ask them the question, because they will know which home is a rental and which home is not. So that is where you're going to get the best information that you possibly can if you are really concerned about where those short-term rentals are in that South Scottsdale area. Now, with that said, the city of Scottsdale has put some layers in place to help the homeowners in these areas where short-term rentals are, with new laws and new licensing that is required for short-term rentals. However, that doesn't take them all away because they're still there. So are they more prevalent in South Scottsdale? They are. Why? Because there's no HOAs down there. Has that made South Scottsdale a less desirable place to be? In some people's eyes, I would say yes, but not in everyone's. So that's kind of my take on that in South Scottsdale. But I still believe that South Scottsdale is a great place to live, especially because it's so close to the airport, Tempe. You can get so many different places really easily from that South Scottsdale area. So that's my take on that one. Okay, here is another review. This is a very expensive town to live in, but you do pay for what you get. There are many great restaurants and parks and golf courses, and it also has a pretty safe town. But for the amount that you pay in taxes, the schools should be better funded than they are, and a majority of people who live here are all about their money. So here's what I have to say about that review regarding the schools specifically. So in Scottsdale, most of our schools are all A-rated or higher. So we do have highly rated schools. Are they the top rated school district in the entire Phoenix area? No, but we're one of the top 5. And I say this all the time. I think one of the biggest benefits to schools in Arizona as a whole is that we have school choice. So if the school that is your district is not the right fit for your kids, then you can send them to a different school, which I think is such a bonus. And just like in everything, is every teacher fantastic? No, but you're going to find some others that are absolutely the best teachers that your kids will ever have. Okay, now I want to read a couple others that are kind of saying the same thing, but from 2 different people. So let's see what they have to say. The only bad part used to be the excessive heat most of the year, but now it's getting way too crowded and expensive here. And the next one says, we visited Phoenix recently because we were thinking of moving there from Washington. I visited during other times of the year, but never in the middle of the summer, and I wanted to experience the blast furnace. It was dang hot during the days, 110-ish. But what really got me is that it does not cool down at night like we're used to here. When the low is 90, there is no opening the windows in the evening or in the morning for fresh air. That's the part I would have trouble dealing with for months on end. So this is something that I talk about all the time as far as the heat is concerned. We are so hot that it does not cool off at night. Does it? It cools off from 110. It doesn't stay 110 all night. But does it cool off so that you can open your doors and windows? No, it doesn't. You are going to be living in air conditioning 24/7 for 4 to 5 months. There's no question. So I don't I don't disagree with anything they said when it comes to the heat. When it comes to that we're getting overcrowded and too expensive, have we had a lot of people move here in the last few years? We have. Is it getting more expensive? It is, but so is everywhere else. So that one I kind of have to take with a grain of salt, but it's not wrong. 100%. Okay, so now let's get to some of the positives. And don't be fooled. There are still some small little digs that they give into Scottsdale, and we'll talk about those too. Okay, so this person says Scottsdale is a wonderful place to live. Amazing shopping, fine dining all around the city, way less traffic than other densely populated areas. School system is subpar for education, but for sports is amazing. Plus, some major A-list actors grew up in Scottsdale. I'm not sure that really matters, but that's a side note. We have one of the 3 Mayo clinics in America. Tons of outdoor activities. Even though it's incredibly hot in the summer, there's relatively zero humidity, so it's very tolerable. Amazing nightlife with Old Town. 2 great casinos and the most spas in the country per capita. I mean, it rains about 20 days a year. What else could you really ask for? It's so hard to get lost in Scottsdale because of our grid street system. Overall, it's hard to leave. Cost of living is a tad high, but that comes with living in such an amazing city. Okay, so what do I agree with? I agree with their take on the traffic. Everybody wants to talk about how bad our traffic is, but in all honesty, if you have come from a big city, the traffic here is nothing. If you've come from a small town, you're going to feel like the traffic is bad. So it's all kind of perspective and where you're coming from. But overall, my take is the traffic is not that bad. I already told you what my thought is on A-list actors that grew up here. Like, I don't really understand what the relevance is there, but that's neither here nor there. The hospital system, I mean, the Mayo clinics here are phenomenal. And there are people that come here, especially from the Midwest, that go to the Mayo clinic in Minneapolis. And they come here specifically because we have another Mayo clinic and they love the Arizona and Scottsdale atmosphere. We talked a little bit about the school system and being subpar. They mentioned it as well, even though they feel like Scottsdale is a great place to live. But again, if you're coming from some of those areas that have extremely high funding for your public school systems, and then you might feel like the school system here is a little bit less than from where you've come from. However, as I just said, all of our schools in the Scottsdale Unified School District, as far as public schools, they are A-rated schools. Some of them are A-plus rated schools. And then you've got charter schools and you've got private schools that are phenomenal schools. So the education here in Scottsdale is really good. Now, something I'm going to disagree with on this is that we have zero humidity. Now, are we as humid as the East Coast or in the Midwest? By no stretch of the imagination are we that humid. But in the summertime, when we have monsoons that come through, our humidity does rise. So zero humidity, I think that's stretching it a bit, but low humidity, yes. Okay, here is another one. It's a great place to live 8 months out of the year. It is hard being a kid growing up in Scottsdale, as you cannot hop on your bike and head out to a friend's house, as you would melt along the way. And playing outside is limited unless you enjoy swimming. Other than that, Scottsdale offers everything one could want. So here's what I will say about that one, because I have 2 small kids. They're not 100% wrong in the summertime. When you wake up and you look outside and it's so sunny, I yearn to allow my kids to go outside just to play. And they do sometimes, but we have a misting system and we'll have a splash pad or something like that out there so that they can cool off easily. But it's not a place where in the summertime they could just go outside and be outside all day like a lot of other places, which is kind of a bummer. And if you don't have a pool, it makes it that much more challenging. So my kids are in the pool a lot during the summertime as ways to just get energy out, but they love being in the pool. So overall, I would say this person is not wrong. Here is another positive review. I have lived in Scottsdale my whole life and wouldn't trade it for anything. The desert is the most beautiful place, even when it's 115 plus degrees outside. Day or night, summer or winter, there is nothing quite like the Arizona desert. We have incredible hikes and some of the most vibrant sunsets I have ever seen. If you like fun in the sun year-round, Arizona is a place for you. I could not agree with this person more about our sunsets. They are so beautiful. And if you're in North Scottsdale, like I am, near the McDowell Mountains, during certain times of the year when the sun sets, those mountains will turn purple and orange. That's the east side. So the sun is setting on the other side. It's just the reflection off of everything that turned the mountains a different color. It's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. So anybody that has experienced one of our majestic sunsets knows that it's unlike anything they've ever seen. And it's one of the other reasons that people will continue coming back. Okay, here's another one. Scottsdale is amazing. Despite the intense heat, it is a very comfortable town with lots of things to do. There are many malls and good places to eat. I would like to see less homeless people out on the streets though. So the homeless piece, I will say this. I am in North Scottsdale, and this is not something that I encounter on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. As you go into South Scottsdale, in certain areas kind of buffering Phoenix and maybe into Tempe, are you going to see it maybe a little bit more? You might. Have I seen a couple homeless people in North Scottsdale? I have, but it was a while ago and I haven't seen them since. So I think the homeless piece is something that everyone across the country has been experiencing more of within the last few years. But is it a really prevalent thing here in Scottsdale? I don't see it. But because it's something that I know comes up a lot, it was something that I just wanted to address quickly. Okay, here is a funny one. Scottsdale is a bit pretentious when you arrive. This is going to be a good one. But the people are generally nice, caring, and friendly. The bike paths are awesome, and you can commute via cycle pretty much anywhere within a 15-mile radius. The farmer's market is cool. Old Town sucks, but the rest is pretty awesome. So this one kind of falls in line with what we talked about in South Scottsdale, which is where Old Town is. Some people just don't love that area because it is where a lot of the younger kids go, where the bars are, all of that. So it's a different place in the day versus in the night. And I tell buyers that a lot. I'm like, when you go there in the daytime, you'll probably love it because there's shops and everything that says Scottsdale on it. There's some great dining, all of those. It's fantastic. You go there at night and it has a different feel. So is it terrible? No, it's not terrible, but it's just different. And some people love it and some people don't. All right, let's see what this one says. Scottsdale is a beautiful and active city with tons of hiking trails, golf courses, and beautiful parks. Scottsdale community members spend lots of time outdoors. There's pride in the cleanliness of the city as well. Some of the best schools in Arizona can be found in Scottsdale, as well as the best shopping. This is hands down an amazing place to live. Now, I would say that I probably agree with this one the most, and it's not because it's all butterflies and rainbows. It's because that's how I feel. I love living here. I feel like the city is clean. I feel safe. I don't ever want to go anywhere else, really. I mean, I really love living here. Everything that I need is right here. So it's a place that is great for me and my family. I love the sun as well. So I live in the right place. I love the fact that it's sunny a lot. So people that don't or wish for more seasons, they sometimes get bored with the weather in Scottsdale because, well, you wake up and what's today? It's sunny again. But that is one of the things that a lot of people really do love about living in Scottsdale. So what were the top 5 complaints in Scottsdale? Well, the first one was probably the heat. I think I saw that the most people really just don't like the heat here, which is something you just can't get away from. We get to 110, 115 plus in the summertime for extended periods of time. And it's for months on end, 4 to 5 months on end. It just day after day. So if that is something that you don't like, Scottsdale might not be the best fit for you unless you can get away during that time of the year. One of the other ones was how expensive things are, including housing. There is no question that things have gotten more expensive, including housing, not just here, but everywhere. And home prices have gone up significantly. But again, they've gone up everywhere significantly. So it's something that you just have to factor in if you're thinking about coming here. What are the real prices? One of the other things we heard often was things are getting too crowded. Now in 2020 and 2021, we saw about 90,000 people move to the state each year. Then in 2022, we had about 77,000 people. And in 2023, we had about 58,000 people move here. Now, that was for the whole state, not just Scottsdale. But still, that is a lot of people in a short period of time. And because of that, there have had to be some changes, which leads me to my next thing that everyone was complaining about, and that was traffic and density. And because of all these people coming here, we have had to make some changes in our traffic patterns. And we have had a lot of new construction, which is adding to our density. And like I said earlier, I am not in full favor of all of the density and the high-rise condos that are being built. This has increased our traffic, but again, I don't see this as a huge problem coming from another big city where I see much worse traffic. But at the time of me recording this, right now, we've got a lot of road construction going on, which is a huge pain. But if you live here, you learn how to drive around it so that it doesn't become a huge hindrance. And that's all to take on more people and more traffic. So I'm hoping that this is all going to be a good thing. But in the meantime, it's kind of a pain. Now, something I also saw posted a lot is about fake and rude people. And this, like I said also, is not something that I come into contact with on a daily basis. In fact, I find that most people that I meet out there are really quite nice. And my rationale for that is that most people that have come to Arizona are moving from a different state. So they don't always know people when they get here. So they're really usually more on the kind side than the rude side. At least that's my opinion. And here are the top 5 things that people love about Scottsdale. And the first one is no surprise because it's our weather. Now, they all did say that it was about 7 to 8 months out of the year that they love our weather. The rest they don't love, but they tolerate it. But even those that come from a snowy climate or an icy climate, they all say, even though our summers are really, really hot, they will take our summers over where they have come from. Something else that people said over and over again was that they loved how clean and how well cared for our city is. And the city really does a great job of keeping the city clean and safe. The city of Scottsdale has bulk trash pickup every month. So for those big items or trees or things like that that you want to get rid of, you don't have to take them to the dump. You can put them out on the front of your house, and the city of Scottsdale comes by and they pick it all up. I personally love that we do not have any large advertising signs on our 101 freeway through the city. And until I make a comment about that, sometimes people have not even recognized that that's not there. But then once I do, they go, wow, I didn't realize it. And it is so nice to drive on that freeway and not see all these glaring, ugly signs in my face while I'm driving. It's really funny to me because my father-in-law was a city planner, and every time he would come to visit, he would see or notice something different or something new about the city and how well it was planned, how well it was designed, and how beautiful it was. And trust me when I tell you, he had an eye for these things. The other thing people love is all the hiking, biking, and golf that we have. Now, there's no question that Scottsdale is a golf mecca, and that's one of the big reasons that a lot of people come here. But many also love a lot of the hiking and the biking that we have and the thousands of trails. And we have pickleball. Man, do we have pickleball. And people love that too. Something else that was high on the list was shopping and dining. And we have got that in abundance. And it's something that we're kind of known for. We've got everything from those high-end shops to things that you need every day. And everything in between. People also love all of our events and activities that we have going on, mostly during our winter months, but some during the summer months as well. But a lot of people that come to Scottsdale for the very first time do so coming to an event like the Barrett-Jackson Car Auction or the Phoenix Open or baseball spring training. And that is when the love affair starts with Scottsdale. And then they keep coming back until eventually they decide to move here. So if you are thinking about moving to Scottsdale, make sure you take a look at this video where I talk about some of the best places to live. As always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.